Hello everyone and welcome to my little corner of the internet. My name's Michael and I'm bitten by a radioactive book. Today is Thursday and I'm going to present you the second part of my new segment 15 for 2015, and it's about science fiction this time. And I'm going to show you like 15 books that I might or might not read in 2015, but which are at least very high up in my TBR abyss. So, let's get started. The first book we're going to talk about is The Age of Zeus by James Lovegrove. It's the second book in his Pantheon saga, but that isn't something that should discourage you to pick it up, because all the books in the saga can be read standalones and play under totally different kind of circumstances. The only thing that every book of the saga, and I think there are like 6 books out there and a 7th book that contains 3 novellas, and all of them have in common only the premise that at some point on Earth one of the classical pantheons appears and starts to rule humanity. And in the first book, that is a book I've already read, it's the Egyptian pantheon, and so the book is called The Age of Ra. But this one that I have not read yet, the next one for me is Age of Zeus. And yeah, the premise is that the Olympian gods came to Earth and actually threw over the governments on Earth and now rule with an iron hand. And our main character Sam is recruited into a kind of guerrilla troop that is tasked with going up against the gods and maybe even killing them. And this whole thing seems to be like very interesting. I like mythology, I like this kind of guerrilla type of fighting. It seems to be a very interesting topic, and I like the first book in the series. It's kind of action-packed military fantasy. I heard that the writing progresses throughout the series, so I'm really looking forward to read more by James Lovegrove. Next up we have The Creative Fire by Becca Cooper. It's the first in her Ruby Song series, and The Creative Fire is actually a generation ship, and Ruby is our main character. She's, I think, a teenager who works on this ship, or at least a young female character, and the story is a bit described like being an Evita kind of story, where there is a social uprising on this ship, and Ruby is part or a huge part of that kind of uprising, and maybe there's a revolution or she comes into power or something like that. Then there's a bit of romance in it as well. There will be something connected to her voice. Her voice seems to be important, and the whole series is called Ruby's Song, so maybe there's a connection to the actual musical Evita as well, because music seems to play a role in this, and this whole combination sounds really intriguing, and I bought the first book and want to find out what this is all about. Next up we have The Darwin Elevator by Jason M. Howe, or Hoke, I don't know. It's the first in the Dire Earth cycle, and this is basically a The Walking Dead science fiction scenario. So imagine there is like an alien plague, and this plague turns most of Earth's population into a kind of zombie-like mindless savage, and the remaining Earthers who didn't get infected are actually based in Darwin, Australia, in the Darwin Elevator, a space elevator that was built there to connect the Earth to space. And our main character is one of the few immunes, and he leads like a troop of other immunes who go into the wildlands to do supply runs for the elevator. Yeah, and I really found this thing intriguing. I like this kind of survival stories where we actually see what this kind of overwhelming odds does to the human psyche, but also to the structures of the society. What are the new ways of society these people form under this hard kind of conditions, and yeah, that will be very interesting to find out. Next up, we have one of the more prominent science fiction authors. It's David Weber, and I'm interested into reading his Safehold series, starting with Off Armageddon Reef. And the basic idea is that the humans went to space and there encountered a race called, I think, the Gabar, and the Gabar nearly wiped out the humans, and the humans fled to a new planet, to Safehold, and the Gabar are actually able to like spy technology, and so the humans kind of transform their society into a pre-industrial society, and kind of yeah, put measures into motion that this will stay like this forever, so that nobody can make inventions that would lead the society into an industrial era. But there is another faction inside the humans, and that plants an android there um, with the task to bring humanity actually on this new world into the industrial era. That's what or how I understand it. And this android awakens like 800 years after this society is built or was built in the first place. And we're following the society at this point. So their roots to the stars are, I think, forgotten, and yeah, then the android happens. Next up, we have the Clockwork Rocket by Greg Egan, the first in the orthogonal series. It's a very fascinating concept. Some of it will sound very familiar to you because there is this society, and the living conditions on the planet get worse, and so they want to build like a ship to send out and maybe find another world, or maybe find something that will help resolve the problems that they have on their world. But the interesting part about it is that this is an alien race. It's not about humans, and this alien race is really sounding fascinating, because I think they have some kind of plant DNA inside them, and so they live by doing or eat by doing photosynthesis, I think. And they also have the possibility to, when they're mating, to mate normally with a male and a female, but the female, if there's no male available, can also like do like a cell split, and then I think the female can even give up her own consciousness and then create many children or something like that. And I read that some of the laws of physics that are part of our world work differently on this world, so this is a very science heavy read, but the whole idea seems to be very, very intriguing. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to try this out, to be brave and head into more like heady and more like scientific-y science fiction, what I normally not do because I'm more like a space opera reader. Yeah, but that sounds too intriguing to pass it up. Next up, we have God's War by Cameron Hurley, the first in her Beldame Apocrypha series. And if you're following my channel for quite a while, you will know that I was really fond of Cameron Hurley's new series, The Mirror Empire was the first book in the Worldbreaker series. That is more of a fantasy series, and this series here has some fantasy but also some science fiction elements. It's about a holy war. There are mercenaries, mages involved. Um, it sounds really interesting, and Cameron Hurley is known for being an author who pays a lot of attention to depicting female characters right and giving them prominent roles. And yeah, as I was really impressed by the imagination she had in creating her fantasy world in the Mirror Empire, I'm really intrigued to go into her first trilogy that she wrote. And I think Paige from Enchantology read this first book, and she's a great fan of Cameron Hurley as well. Yeah, and uh, if that is not endorsement enough for you to pick it up, I don't know. Next up we have the Demi-Monde Winter. It's the first in the Demi-Monde series. It's kind of a very interesting premise. There is this virtual reality that is created to prepare soldiers for extreme situations in urban warfare. To be exposed to really difficult circumstances, not only like physical circumstances but also in circumstances of society. So in this kind of virtual reality, every possible human villain of history is inside it. There, I think Hitler is in it, Stalin is in it, Robespierre is in it. There are a lot of historical figures programmed into it to have certain key roles in this society of this virtual reality. And but then the virtual reality and the normal reality um, begins to, I don't know if it merges, but they influence each other, and the daughter of the US president kind of gets trapped inside the reality. And our main character is called Ella. She's like 18 years old, and it's her role to rescue the daughter of the president. So why it is her role and how she fits into this whole thing is for us as the reader to find out. And I really, yeah, was intrigued by this whole premise. It's, I think, a 4-book series, and every book is called like a season. So we have winter followed by spring and so on and so forth. Yeah, and I think all of the 4 are already available, and I'm really intrigued to see where Rod Rees is taking this idea. Next up we have The Noise Within by Ian Waite. I think the series is also called the Noise series or the Noise Within series, and we're following 2 characters. One is the one that invented the interface between human and AI, and the second one is a character who is tasked with finding a pirate ship, a pirate spaceship, I think. So we are far into the future, maybe. And yeah, how they are involved with each other is for us as the reader to find out. And I think that is a promise. It sounds a bit like a cyberpunk promise, so I'm really interested where this is going. Next up we have Cosmonaut Keep by Ken MacLeod, the first in the Engines of Light trilogy series. I'm not quite sure. The book seems to follow 2 different timelines. We seem to have one near future timeline where a hacker is tasked with getting into the data stream of a station from the European space basis, or European space operations, and in the other timeline maybe a descendant from him, because they have like the same last name, Cairn. is unraveling the secret of interstellar travel together with his love interest, I think. And yeah, these timelines are connected somehow. And yeah, that sounded really intriguing. The book was actually nominated for the Hugo Award in 2002. Yeah, and I'm really interested in trying it out. Next up we have another Hugo nominee and a Nebula Award winner. No, not Nebula, a Robert A. Heinlein Award winner, I think. It's The January Dancer by Michael Flynn, the first in the Spiral Arm series. And the dancer seems to be an object of desire by rulers and pirates, and Captain January, who's our main character, I think, was in possession of this object, lost it, has to get it back, something like that. And yeah, that seems to be a very interesting series as well. And yeah, sounds like a great space opera and comes with a lot of praise, so I'm interested to start it. And as I will be totally hipster about it, I won't read it in January. Maybe in February. Or March. Or maybe May. Next up we have Crystal Rain by Tobias S. Buckle, the first in the Xenowealth series, and this is something where the premise of the world building sounds so interesting that I didn't even read even farther about plot or characters. It's a world that is settled by humans, and the two predominant cultures are a Caribbean and an Aztec culture, um, and this is a mix-up. So a mix-up of like Caribbean calypso feeling with Aztec blood sacrifices in a space opera novel. Yeah, I'm totally sold. I want to read this. Wow. Wow. Next up we have Stealing Light by Gary Gibson, the first in the Shoal sequence. And the Shoal are an alien race, and the humans, I think, are part of the Shoal sphere of influence, and the Shoal actually have the monopoly on FTL, so faster than light kind of travel, and provided it to the humans. And our main character is a captain of a civilian spaceship and is tasked with finding an alien spaceship that also maybe has faster than light travel. So there might be other races, dead races out there that had this kind of technology, and of course the Shoal are not very happy about their monopoly maybe being broken by the humans. Next up we have Principles of Angels by JAINE FENN, the first in the Hidden Empire series. This sounds all over the place with mythology, because we have a planet with like two sides, like the very opulent top side and then the underside or underdark. I think an underground kind of society or city or country, I don't know. And our main protagonist has an aunt and lives with his aunt, I think, and she's an angel, and angels are kind of a policing force. And then the aunt gets slain and he has to go into the underworld and find the killer. And we have a second protagonist. He is or she is a musician, and oh, I'm always saying this right, from Irish mythology, has something to do with the Shidi. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce this. So this seems to be very, very like mashed up. Like we have the angel mythology, we have like Irish mythology, we have space opera, maybe a bit of cyberpunk there, so that seems really interesting. Next up we have Grass by Sherry S. Tapper, the first in the Arby series. In this novel, humanity discovers and inhabits the planet of Grass, I think, and on Grass there lives a second alien race, and then at some point the universe is filled with the plague or something, and somehow the planet Grass is the only one that is not affected by it. And yeah, it's kind of a mystery to find out why that is, and maybe to see what this alien race has to do with it. And I actually saw or heard about Sherry S. Tapper as an author on SFF Review Net, which is also a great booktubing channel if you don't know it. And Thomas there talked about the books by Sherry S. Tapper, and Grass seemed to be a good starting point to get into the series or into her work. She has written a lot of books. Yeah, and I want to find out what her writing is all about. And last but not least, we have Webmage by Kelly McCulloch, the first in the Webmage series, and that seems to be an interesting mix-up of magic and cyberpunk, because magic is somehow real in this world, but magic is kind of digitalized, and so there are like cyber mages running around, and I didn't read farther than that. I don't have any clue about the actual plot. That sounded so right up my alley that I just added it to my TBR abyss and want to find out what it's all about. So these were 15 science fiction books I'm planning on reading in 2015. I hope you enjoyed this little journey into my maybe upcoming reads. As last week, if there's something that you find particularly interesting and would be interested maybe in buddy reading with me, please leave me a comment down below in the comment section. I'm really looking forward to discussing the books, reading the books with you. So yeah, please do that if you're interested. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of me, subscribe to my channel. If you want to know what's coming up on my channel, please look inside the description box. There's a little segment there called On the Horizon. I wish you a good day and hope you get bitten by a really good book too. Bye.